cat in the wall, eh? Okay, now you're talking my language.
Do you ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
Oh, great. Thanks, Mother, for replacing the baby aspirin with LSD.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountain?
All right, welcome in. Week 1. Kneecaps still intact. It's time to start gambling, even though I did actually lose some money in week 0. It's our gambling podcast, though. I'm just Matt. This is the Dyerwolf here on View from C-Deck. And we are both, it's finally here, Casey. College football's arrived, and it's legal to bet in the state of Ohio. Thank you. Whatever deity you want to pray to, thank you for that.
Yeah, it wasn't legal this time last year, right?
No, that's what I said. Somebody asked me at work. They're like, "You gonna be gambling?" I'm like, "You bet your sweet ass I am this weekend. What are you talking about? I pulled out a couple $100.
Pretty sure it was January 1, right? Because
it was. So we missed our game basically, unless you could have got some live action on it. I think right after midnight. Because I think the game ended right after. No, the game ended as the ball was dropping. That's right.
Yeah.
Because I remember it. Yeah.
We don't need to talk about that.
What game? I don't know. But it's here, and since this is a Buckeye-centric podcast, we're going to start with the Ohio State Buckeyes, and we're going to change up our format a bit this year. Last year, we just picked straight-up games. This year, we're going to throw in some over-unders, just so we have a better chance of winning, I think.
Yeah.
But Ohio State, 30-point favorites against Indiana on the road at Bloomington. In our podcast earlier, I said I like us to cover because I think our offense is too good. Our defense is too good. Yeah, so used to being the offensive day. Defense is too good. Offense will be good enough to get over 30. I don't think we're giving up much. I'm thinking like 38-7, 45-7. We cover that spread. But I do think the under is there because with the shorter games, with this new running clock, and with the new offense coming in, I'm not convinced that we're going to go for like a huge number. And I don't, like I just said, I don't think their offense is doing much against our defense.
Yep. If it's not one of my picks, but for this sake, I will say we're going to cover. I think we'll barely cover. Might be backdoor. Thinking my pick is 42-10, which is barely covers it right now. It's 30.5 right now. Is that right?
Yeah, it's 30 right now. It's opened at 30.5. I think it opened at 28.5, went up to 30.5, is back down to 30.
Okay, so it'll probably stay right there then. And then I think the under's the safer bet, though. That was one of my picks.
Yeah, that was one of Dyerwolf's delights, and Matt's junk. Both of us have the under. But hopefully the offense proves us wrong and they score 60-something. That's fine. I'll take that L right away. Other action, though, as we move along, some top 25, some Big Ten stuff. We're going to start with tomorrow night's games, though. We're right off the bat getting into some Big Ten football. Nebraska and Minnesota, a Dyerwolf's delight here. +7. What do you got there? Seeing Matt Rule coming up big against the Fleck?
I do. I don't know if they're going to win. I think it's going to be they're the last couple years, or even probably 3 years. I mean, they had a different coach back then, but they've always played close games. I know the spread's only 7, I think. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Which isn't much, but I think Minnesota is going to take a big step back this year. They lost their heart and soul. Ibrahim, he was basically their whole freaking offense last year. And like I said, Nebraska tends to play in tight games. I'm thinking it's going to be like a 2 or 3 point game going down to the wire. So Nebraska +7 sounds pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could see Nebraska winning this at +225. Not a bad price. Man, Matt Rule's a great college coach. We know that. And he's brought in some talent. I mean, he's not going to turn him around, but I can see him making him bold this year. And Minnesota, I think the stuff coming out from their program about how PJ Fleck runs it like a cult and how he's so bizarre, I think he's one of those guys that wears out his welcome after a few years. And I can see Minnesota, they lost a lot on offense. They lost a quarterback, too, I believe, besides Ibrahim. And I don't think they're not just a factory that's going to just churn it out and replace them. So I see it being a close game like you, and I'll just take the 7 points. I like that. Haas, though, who hasn't made an appearance yet this year, but we'll get him on here soon enough. We're sending his Haas handy in for the Florida-Utah game tomorrow night as well, probably the biggest game of the night. He's taking Florida. He had +4, but it's +4.5 right now on my DraftKings, so I'll give him an extra half point. Utah without Cam Rising, well, most likely he's doubtful. And I'm with them on that. It's 4.5's a lot without rising. Although since it hasn't moved, it's a little getting into the sneaky. Yeah, what was it? Ballsy pick territory. That's what it was.
It did catch my eye because I thought, I don't know. I almost feel like Florida should almost be a pick 'em. So I'd actually go the opposite and go Utah.
Yeah, actually, I think I'm going to go with Utah. Now that you said that, and now I just thought about that, how the line hasn't really moved. Yeah, let's go. Maybe it was already priced in though.
Yeah,
That he wasn't playing, but still, that's them being that big over a field goal favorite without him.
Yeah,
I think I like those odds. All right, we're going to Saturday though, and we're going to start out keeping our eye on the enemy, turning it up north there just to see what they're doing with. I don't even know who the hell's coaching them in this game because they've suspended half their coaching staff. I think trying to give one of these little middle fingers to the NCAA, and they're playing East Carolina, so it doesn't matter. But Michigan minus 36 point favorites, and I'm going to take them because I think they beat the crap out of an East Carolina team that's just going to be physically overmatched. And I think there's probably, if they care about Harbaugh, there should be some juice, right? Some FU in mentality coming out. So I'll take Scum to cover. They feel like they beat the shit out of teams like this pretty consistently.
Yep, I thought about doing that one too. If I had to take one out, that probably would have been the replacement because, like you said, last year when they played like Hawaii and UConn and all those shit teams, they were winning like 66-0 or whatever the hell it was. Mm-hmm. So 38. Is that what you said it is?
Yeah, 36.
36. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a whole lot to me.
No, that's definitely. I mean, 42-0 would be not much of a surprise at all to me. One of the, I guess, better games. Not that there's a great slate, especially on Saturday. Tennessee, though, hosting Virginia. At least they're two big time schools or Power 5 conferences, or Power 4 now that we're down to.
Technically, not yet. But.
Not yet. You're right. Not yet. Tennessee, though, coming off a huge year and 28-point favorites at home against Virginia, who's lost a lot this offseason, especially on offense. Joe Milton, former Scum quarterback, taking over the reins at Tennessee. A lot of people's dark horses to win the Heisman. Over-under is 56. I took the over in this game as one of my picks. Virginia's actually senior-laden, like sixth-year senior-laden on offense, except for the O-line, which could be bad, but I feel like Tennessee was wretched on defense last year, and their offense plays a super high pace, so I'm just taking the over, thinking both teams will score enough to get me over 56.
Yep, and I actually picked Tennessee as one of my picks to cover the 28. I think they're going to be a real threat in the SEC. They're probably going to compete with the big dogs, Georgia and Bama, if they play both of them eventually. But I think they could just absolutely dominate this game. Like you said, Virginia might score some points because Tennessee's D sucks, but it could easily be like 63-21 or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, they maybe not with the new clock rules, but
yeah.
But I think the 56, it almost seems too low, but maybe not because it's, they're probably thinking Virginia is not going to do much on offense, but I just don't trust Tennessee's defense.
Yeah.
One other nooner, we're going to talk about this one just because the Haas picked it. He's got Fresno State +4 against Purdue in West Lafayette. Guess he's thinking that Purdue's not going to be living up to, I mean, they got new coach, new everything pretty much, but they have a little bit of talent. I would pick them to win, but I would be staying away from this line in general. I guess I'll go with Purdue -4 just to go against the Haas because he didn't come on tonight. So F you, man.
Idea about, but I mean, you got to go with Purdue on it. I'd say. I mean, it's probably going to be a pretty close game, but I think they win by 7 or more.
Seems low for a home game for them, so maybe it is a little bit ballsy pick territory.
Yeah.
All right, 3:30 window though. Getting some game. Oh, you actually are losing some ground on this pick here, Casey. Oh no, you're gaining ground. Never mind. You have Wisconsin though against Buffalo at -27.5 now instead of -28. So you guys gained a half point. That's a big half point.
That's a big difference.
So
yeah.
why do you believe in the Badgers to cover such a huge spread this early into the Fickle era?
I think, I mean, it's his first game, but he's going to be one of the best coaches in the Big Ten, I think, for the coming years. Big Ten has a lot of good coaches, though, so that's saying a lot. But this whole air raid offense, baby, with Wisconsin, even though they have arguably the best running back in the country coming in, it'll be interesting to see. But it's kind of a mixed bag of reasons. I think Buffalo, I don't think they're probably not going to score a whole lot of points, and I don't see, like, even if they score 7 or 10, I'm not going to be surprised if that's how many they score. That's probably about what I think they would. That means Wisconsin would only have to score like 35 to cover that, and I think they'll do that pretty easily. I'm thinking it'll be more like 42-7.
Wisconsin generally hasn't started out that hot unless they've been able to just overwhelm teams with their O-line. With this new spread offense, I don't know that they can do that. I mean, Utah State's not a very good team. Jordan Love's not walking through that door anytime soon. But I'll take the 27.5 for shits and giggles here just to go against you. I'm not a big believer. In Fickle's offense first year, I guess 31 to I'll say it's like 31-7 though, 31-6, and you just miss it.
Okay.
All right. Other 3:30 games that we picked. Did we pick any more of these? Yeah, we did. No, we didn't. We're just move on to the next window here then.
We didn't pick the game of the week. I don't think nobody did.
We didn't, but we're going to talk about that. That's at 7:00 or 7:30. We can do that now. South Carolina, North Carolina. One game that none of us touched. I just don't know. The over/under is 64.5, which seems kind of high for this early in the season. And I was thinking about actually taking that. Because I'm always like, they're both not so well. South Carolina's okay on defense. North Carolina bad on defense, or they have been recently. Excellent offense though. Two good quarterbacks. Obviously, Drake May and Spencer Rattler had some huge games towards the end of the year last year to beat Tennessee and Clemson. So I could see it going high, but then I feel like it's one of those games that ends up being like 33-30, and they miss by like a half point. So Carolina's 2.5-point favorites at home. North Carolina. I'll take North Carolina at home. Derail the Spencer Rattler hype train a little bit.
I'd say, yeah, because of Drake May. I mean, they're saying some people are talking in the same breath with Caleb Williams next year in the draft.
No.
But he's like clearly the second best quarterback apparently that's coming out. So I do think I'd give them the edge because of that. But when I said game of the week, maybe I'm wrong. I just looked at the games real quick. Isn't Florida State LSU?
Okay, this is the game day game, but that's not till Sunday, the Florida State game. That's why. That's the game of the week, though, for sure.
By far. Yeah.
Also, Saturday night, Penn State hosting West Virginia. Penn State team that I believe in a lot more than – well, I believed in them early. Now everybody's jumped on the train. I've hated it in the preseason. Casey, you were there last year. I'm like, if I had to pick a team right this second, as soon as the season ended, I'd pick Penn State to win the Big Ten, and all of a sudden they're the darling. But 20.5-point favorites at home against West Virginia, another relatively big matchup to start out. But West Virginia was not good against any. They only played like 2 top 30 defenses last year or something like that, and they didn't break 20 points against either. And Penn State's going to have a really good defense this year at all 3 levels. They got NFL guys. So I think they hold West Virginia in check in the maybe just 10 to 17-point range, and I think they can get over 30-plus with their offense. So I'm taking Penn State to cover. We'll take it 3 touchdowns exactly. It's only 20.5, so I got the half point to give me the edge.
Was that one of your picks?
It is one of my picks. Yeah.
Okay. I almost that one. It caught my eye, but the whole, West Virginia's no scrub, and that spread was relatively high, so it's just like right there. So I didn't touch it, but if I had to, I'd pick Penn State.
All right. Moving on to Sunday games, though, for our picks purposes here. Sunday afternoon, a pretty good one. Oregon State hosting San Jose State, who actually gave USC a little bit of a test last week. I mean, not a huge test. They lost by 28, but they stayed with them. It was only a 7-point game at halftime. And Oregon State, a lot of people's sleeper to win the Pac-12. They had DJ Uiagalelei, or how you ever say his name, Uyunglele. That's right. At quarterback, they were good last year. Did really well in the Pac-12, and I think it went under the radar. 16.5-point favorites on the road, though, playing against San Jose State. Haas took the points with San Jose State. Well, actually, he's texted me wrong and said minus 16.5. So I said, oh, I'll take that all day. But I'll give him the plus 16.5. But I'll take Oregon State to cover this one because I think I'm with people on the dark horse. They're a pretty good defense and a pretty good team all around with an upgrade at quarterback, perhaps. There's smoke coming out that he's looked really good in their preseason. So go Beavs.
That number just seems a little odd to me. I mean, they could win by 21 or 17 and cover
easily.
Really, is it going to be 14 or 17? But I think they could cover easily, really. It kind of depends on the first half because they kept it close with USC, which kind of made you scratch your head a little bit. But I could see them winning by 28.
Yeah, I just don't. I think USC maybe just didn't play well on defense. They may be what they are. But the big game of the week now, Sunday night, 7:30, LSU and Florida State, two teams with playoff aspirations for sure. LSU is one of my favorite bets to make for the national championship at plus 1,200. I think they have a complete team, but they have suspended their starting defensive tackle and one of their better players on defense for the game. But they are loaded pretty much everywhere else. And their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, looked really good at the end of the year, especially against Georgia. Florida State, they had a great season last year, but I've heard a good stat that they went on like a 6-game winning streak to end the year, including a bowl win. Only one of those games came against a team that finished with a winning record. So perhaps it was a little bit smoke and mirrors and not quite as good as it seemed. They did beat LSU last year, though. They're getting 2.5. Haas took Florida State, but I'm going with the murderer himself, Brian Kelly. He's bringing his scissor lifts onto the field to take out Florida State.
I don't know what it is about them, but I feel like Florida State's that darling this year. They might be. They never made the playoff, right?
No, but yeah, they did.
Did they make it the first
year? Lost to Oregon. Jameis.
Yeah, they got absolutely destroyed by Oregon. Yep.
And have been steadily downhill since.
I guess they wouldn't be a debut team in the playoff, but it's been a while for them. I think it's going to be a sweet game. The loser isn't completely just out of it, but they're not looking good. Whoever loses this game, it's neck and neck. You said it's 2.5 Florida State.
They're getting 2.5.
Oh, they're underdogs.
Yep.
So I'll go with Florida State. I think it's going to be real tight. 2.5. So man, maybe LSU wins by 1.
Hey, that worked for me for Baylor and TCU last year. Okay, and the last game we're going to talk about for the weekend, actually it extends into Labor Day, Monday night, Clemson playing against Duke. Only a 13-point spread. Seems a little bit sketchy there. Duke has a pretty good quarterback, though. Clemson didn't end on a high note last year, but I like them a lot this year. I think Cade Klubernick, coming out of high school, I liked him a ton. The 5-star quarterback they had. Played as a true freshman some last year. I think they've changed over. Lincoln Riley's brother is now their offensive coordinator. I like Clemson to cover, but it wasn't one of my picks. But you and the Haas is handy, both have Clemson covering the spread.
It did feel like ballsy pick territory for the opposite, picking Duke.
Yeah.
But at 13, I love that number. Anything a point under 14 or 21 or 28, it always catches my eye. But I think them and Florida State could battle it out for a playoff spot this year. I would not be shocked at all if the ACC winner got that 4th spot. I guess it depends on that LSU game, but I think Clemson wins by probably 20 or more.
Yeah, I like Clemson a lot. Their defense is pretty stacked too, especially their linebackers. They got a couple of guys that are being projected first round, and which there aren't a lot of first round linebackers ever. They got 2 of them maybe, so they're going to be pretty nasty there in the middle of the field. All right. Well, speaking of those little playoff odds, we like to do this at the end of these gambling podcasts to take a look at the national scene coming into the season. Who do you have for your 4 playoff teams? Dyerwolf, I'm going to let you go before I do.
I haven't actually.
Did I put you on the spot? I can go first.
Yeah, you go. You go.
All right. I got Georgia because their schedule stinks, and they're going to, even if they lose a game, they'll get the benefit of the doubt to get in, I think. So I'll take them in there. I'm taking Penn State because that's who my dark horse here. I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to take Clemson, actually. I like them to make it in there as well. And I'm taking LSU. So I think LSU takes out Florida State, and then Florida State has to play Clemson like 2 weeks later. Week 4. So they could easily be 2-2 and out of it right away. But Clemson, so I've no particular order here. Georgia, Clemson, Penn State, LSU. Not the newest of blood, but a little bit different from at least last year.
Yeah, mine's similar. I think Georgia goes undefeated, but then loses to Bama. So both of them make it. Because like you said, they're not going to put a 12-1 Georgia that loses to Bama out of the playoff. There's no chance. Right. So I got both of them in. Of course, I got us in. You know me.
Mm-hmm.
And the 4th team, I guess it's down to 2 teams for me. I think it's USC or Clemson, but I think I'm going to go with Clemson.
Yeah, I think Clemson has an easier path. Yeah, because I thought about SC too, but their defense still doesn't look like it's fixed. And I don't trust Alex Grinch, so I don't think it's fixed. And then they have to play so many good quarterbacks this year. And Oregon, I don't know who they'll actually play, but they're going to play Oregon, Washington, UCLA is still tough, Utah still tough. Like it's a stacked conference. Oregon State, I almost forgot about them. So I don't think if you're going to go out there and get in shootouts every week, you're bound to drop 1 or 2 like they did last year. I mean, both were to Utah, but they can't add a couple really close games too against teams against Oregon State and against UCLA.
On the flip side of that, though, that could be in their favor. If they're 12-1 champ against a 12-1 champ Clemson, their schedule might look a lot better.
Oh, 12-1, but I just don't think they get to the 1. I think they get 2 losses.
Yeah.
They get signed up on them. All right. Well, and enjoy Christmas weekend, boys and girls. This is it for us college football fans.
Finally.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to plop my butt down all day and watch college football starting tomorrow night. It's basically forget work the rest of the week. I'm just going to watch college football. I'm going to record all the games and watch them all back to back to back. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, though. Like, subscribe, comment on our channel. Tell us who you have as your 4 teams to make the playoff this year. Everybody join Casey's side because I'm an idiot for not putting Ohio State in, not having the faith. All right. I'm just Matt. This is Dyerwolf. And thanks for coming in for the View from C-Deck. We will see you next time.
Hey guys! Oh, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
A rich man's world.